Would you like to write a 20-minute newsletter and have it actually help you grow your business? Yeah, me too. That's why I have my favorite topic and guest. So stick around because she's going to be talking all about that and so much more when it comes to newsletters. Welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Jen Vasquez, a Pinterest manager and marketing strategist who brings in marketing experts to help you take action and grow your business. If marketing is something that you want to learn more about, we would love you to subscribe to the podcast or the YouTube channel, which however you like to take in this information, because we want you along for the ride. I'm very excited to be chatting with Liz Wilcox, fresh princess of email marketing. Liz Wilcox is an email strategist and keynote speaker showing small businesses how to build online relationships, packaging up their magic and turning it into emails that people want to read and most importantly, purchase from. Because let's be honest, an email list is great, but if you're not actually growing your business, what is it for? Welcome, Liz.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Y'all, Pinterest and email, it's a match made in heaven. I can't wait to dive in.
I'm so excited. Okay, we always start, this is no surprise to our listeners. I'd love to find out sort of how you got started in business in general and how you arrived at this business, like all the little twisty turns.
Yeah, so unlike a lot of email marketers and marketers in general, they normally start off as a service provider, right? Someone who works under somebody who's bigger and they kind of cut their chops or whatever the saying is. And then they branch out and create their own business. I actually started off as an RV travel blogger. So very business to consumer. Yeah, I had purchased an RV and I started Googling, how to fix the RV. And all these RV blogs came up and there were these young people younger than me at the time. And I was only in my late 20s. And I was like, these people are doing what? How are they traveling? I just bought it because I'm cheap and I hate to clean. I was like, wait, these things have wheels. You could drive this around the country. This is wild. So I started my RV travel blog thinking, oh, if they could do it, I could do it too. And I started listening to amazing podcasts like Jen's, things like that. And everybody and their mother said, yeah, everything is to funnel things into an email list. And from the email list, that's where you sell. And mama didn't raise no fool. I'm nothing if not an efficient chick. So I said, well, I'm just going to go straight for the email list, like forget everything else. And I got really good at building my email list and connecting with my audience in my email list. And it wasn't until I launched my first digital product, or I'm sorry, my first digital course. I'd done other products before, that I knew that I was actually really good at email and I had something that other people didn't have. So I launched my digital course. I had 141 people on the wait list and I made 141 sales. So everybody, yeah, if you're not watching the video, Jen's face just was like, what? And you can go to lizwilcox.com. I have the receipts. I'm not making this up. And when people gave me that reaction that Jen just gave, I was like, what? Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Build a wait list and sell to them? And I said, yeah, but it doesn't always work like that. Normally it's maybe 1 to 3%, maybe 10% if you're really, really good. And that's when I knew, okay, I need to sell this travel blog. I loved it, but I wasn't passionate about it. It was just something to get me going in business. But I knew that I could help people with email. And y'all, when I tell you, when I learned how to click a mouse and make money, I was like, move over Jeff Bezos. These rich folks have been lying. This is too simple because I grew up really poor. I don't know your circumstances as you're listening to this and how you grew up, but I grew up really poor and I grew up with the mindset of to make more, you work more, right? Until the day you die, basically. So when I figured out email marketing, I was like, this is amazing. And then when I figured out not everybody gets email the way Liz Wilcox does, I was like, okay, I need to spread the word. So that's how I got into becoming the fresh princess, as we say now.
I absolutely love it. And we'll talk more about her one service or membership or whatever. She's going to talk about that. But first, let's dive in and let's dive in hard. Why should service providers change their minds about email marketing in the first place?
Well, number one, you want to be in your DMs all day, baby? I don't. Got a life, I've got a kid, I live next to Disney World. I'd much rather be there than, being chained to my phone. And number two, you own your email list. Like I made a joke earlier, but you really own your email list. It's like, you wouldn't want to build a house on land you don't own, right? And raise your hand if you were around in 2022 when some billionaire purchased a social media platform and it started to implode on itself. Chances are I don't even have to tell you the name of the person or the platform for you to know what I was talking about. So if you, let's say, you were a journalist or you're just built your audience on that platform, suddenly you're in a panic mode because it's imploding upon itself. That could happen at any minute. You know, the owner itself could change the rules. We see a lot of, to be frank, a lot of, Congress getting involved with the internet now. You never know what is going to happen. But email is different. Email is a decentralized platform. It's not owned by one guy, right? It's owned by all of us. It's owned by its users, Google, Outlook, etc. Yahoo's still in the game, right? And then there's billions of individual users, and we are the readers and the senders. So we have all of the power. And so when you build your email list, you have the power. You have the power to say, like, yes, I'm going to email these people once a week and there's nothing you can do about it. And also, like, no, I don't want to hear from you anymore. I'm going to unsubscribe. So, email, the reason why it works so well is because you own it and it's consent based. So, that's my pitch. Hopefully, I sold you.
Yeah, and I would even want you to add to that because I feel like what oftentimes we get into businesses we're passionate about, not because we're marketing experts, but because we love what we're passionate about. And then we have to learn that marketing thing, right? I've heard stats anywhere from 15 to 35% of your sales, and obviously for you it's much higher, come from your email list. And there is an implied trust when you see an email than when you see a social media post. I'll see a social media post and I'll go, oh yeah, right. If I see it in email, I'm familiar with this person. I gave them permission to be sending me email, and I'm more apt to read and believe what I'm reading. It's just more personal. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, I love what Jen said, going back to her first sentence about, you probably got into business because you're passionate and you're not a marketer. That's email all day, baby. When go to your email right now, which ones are you opening? It's the people that you know or the products that you really love, right? I mean, Etsy could send us 20 emails a day. We're only opening if we see that one seller we know and love, right? And that's what I love about email. And they say, for every dollar you spend with email, you can get up to 40 bucks in return. And yeah, my stats, I think 90% of my sales come from my emails. And yeah, sure, I do Instagram. I've got a Facebook group, but it's just this more intimate channel. And for service providers, especially, think about if you were buying a house and you needed a realtor. Who are you choosing? It's usually the person that you saw on the billboard or you drove by his bench, or maybe he was your Uber driver. It's that top of mind person. So if you're a realtor and you're emailing once a month, I'm going to go with you because, there's a certain level of familiarity there. So whether you're, a wedding pro or some other kind of service provider, if you, email me even just once a month, when I'm finally getting ready to, hire the photographer or the event planner or whatever, if you've been in my inbox for a while, even just once, twice, three times, oh yeah, I know Jen. She's been reaching out. She's obviously invested in me, so I'm going to invest back into her, and that's really important.
I think there's a caveat, and I'm sure we're going to touch on it in all the billions questions that I have for you that I know everyone out there has. But I feel like email is only effective though if you're providing some good educational comment. I'm thinking in particular of wedding pros because I started as a wedding pro and I still have that business. And people who are getting married in particular have no clue what they're doing. And they get a billion pieces of advice from friends and the internet and the knot and everywhere else. When you're delivering sort of snack bite type content that's giving education, they're really looking to open those emails and learn more, whether they book with you or not. And I've had multiple, at least three, I can even picture the couples right now, where I was referred to someone that didn't hire me for their wedding because a variety of reasons, right? But they loved my educational content and like kind of got to know me, and they're referring their friends to me. So I had three friends of brides that never booked me book me for a wedding. So email works. Let's just bottom line that for the rest of the conversation.
I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. But
Awesome.
going as far as like the content and educational content, I don't want you to panic and think you need to write a novel or a blog post in every single newsletter, especially if your client or your potential client is very busy, like a bride or, soon to be bride. They don't have a lot of time. I always say it's a newsletter, not a novel. Get in and get out. If you don't have time to write it, chances are your person doesn't have time to read it. So I just look at it instead of, oh, how can I provide value? I ask myself, how can I show I'm invested in them? And sometimes that looks like a big long email. Other times it looks like just a quick tip, a reframe. Other times it's, hey, book my services. If you're really, really in need, I've got one spot left, right? But thinking of it, how can I show I'm invested in this person today? And then in return, they're going to invest back into me, either booking me or telling a friend or, sharing on social media, etc.
Yeah, my wedding photography business, I use bullet points because to your point, brides are super uber busy and overwhelmed and have too much family drama typically going on. So bullet points work really well for my marketing emails. They're longer and then you take what you want from them. So I would totally agree with that a lot. Think of your client and how they want to consume the content. I've started doing videos in my emails, which do always do so well. All right. The title was 20-minute newsletter. That's what I would click on if I saw it. So instead of making them wait for several more questions, 20 minutes, like really, because I am skeptical.
Yeah, so I do random prizes in my business, and it's always a mug with my face on it that says if it takes you longer than 20 minutes, you're doing it wrong. So, especially as service providers, again, it's so simple for us whether you're, working as a local, wedding photographer or you're a coach or whatever. It's so it really elevates you to just send out that quick email just showing you're invested. So do a greeting, hey Jen, and then a quick 1 to 2 sentence personal update. A lot of email marketers will tell you to tell stories, but y'all, again, it's a newsletter, not a novel. Stories are hard to tell. Save it for when you've actually got one. So just a personal update, 1 to 2 sentences about something that's happened to you since the last time you emailed. This is what makes you relatable. I shared about showing you're invested. You also have to show you're relatable. Those two things are going to get you really, really far in the game. So, how do we share in a relatable way? Very easily. Like, oh, I just got done shooting 3 weddings in one weekend. I'm exhausted. But anyway, I wanted to email you. Being exhausted from overworking yourself, what could be more relatable, right? And notice I didn't say interesting. Being interesting is really hard. Like, let's leave that up to the Kardashians, okay? But we can be relatable. Oh, my fridge broke. I just took my dog for a walk. I spent too much time on Zoom today. I spent way too much time editing. I'm up too late. Little things like that are super simple. You just put it right there next to the greeting, and then you just move into the call to action. Just segue into the call to action. Now, you might say, Liz, segues, oh my gosh, I'm the worst. I'm not a writer. I'm just a coach. And so what I want you to do, this is really simple. I know you're driving or doing the dishes or something, so don't worry. You don't even have to write this down. Just hit that caps lock button and write anyway, dot, dot, dot. What I really wanted to talk to you about
Oh,
is
that,
XYZ.
that is
That's the
so good.
newsletter. Thank you. I like to think so.
That is really, really good. And how do you have any tips on closing and what you should have at the bottom of that email?
Yeah, so you can close it any which way. I do recommend, depending on your personality, you could go two different ways. You could have the same outro every time. X and O, X's and O's, Jen. Or like me, I like to vary it up. You can Google me, you'll see what I mean. And so sometimes I'll say, later days, Liz, or wishing you the best this week, Liz, lots of different things. Sometimes I'll put, depending, a little fun activity is like I put quotations, like my middle name, like Liz, hoping you can build your email list, Wilcox, or, things like that. So it really depends on your personality. And inject personality into your emails. You can do that in the greeting or the outro. And then as a service provider, what I recommend, something that's super simple, especially if you're like, sales, can't I just work on referrals the rest of my life? Just use something called a super signature. And this is a PS, when you're ready, here are ways we can work together, or here's how I can help you. And that just lightens it, right? Like when you're ready, especially as service providers, people don't buy when we sell, they buy when they're ready, right? It's the same as like the difference between my sister and myself. I get gas at half tank. I get gas a lot. She gets gas when, her car is screaming at her, right? People don't buy when the gas station is selling, they buy when they're ready to fill up the tank. So, PS, when you're ready, here are ways we can work together. And then you just ABCD it, 1, 2, 3, you know, listen to my podcast, check out my Instagram where I give more tips like this. Number 3, book my one-on-one. Number 4, like schedule a consultation, whatever works for you. If you've got online products, you could put the little mini products there, and then, promote your agency or whatever, right? Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. That's literally exactly what I was asking for. I know when it's good information because I go to grab a pen every every second when you're talking. I will go back and re-listen to this because there's so many good things in there. So if you are walking the dog around the block to get your forced exercise for the day or driving your kids to school, make sure that you come back to the podcast and re-listen when you can take some action notes, because this is still going to be so good. We still have more questions, and already I'm like, we're done. That was great. um,
Ta-da!
what are some ways that we're overthinking our newsletters?
I think it goes back to that point about we're trying to be interesting. We're trying to make sure we provide enough value. And one of the things I always say is, isn't just showing up for our subscribers enough value? Isn't, injecting little things like, I believe in you, you're going to have a great wedding, or you're going to overcome this grief if you're some kind of grief coach, or, injecting those little points and just sending an email like that. Like, isn't that enough to just show, hey, when you're ready, I'm here for you. Here are the ways I can help. Isn't that enough value? Of course, just like Jen said, you want to give those educational tips, especially if that's your ideal audience and they really stinking need it, right? But not, using that kind of advice and making it into a blog post. I love what Jen said. Bullet points. People are not reading, people are skimming, and so going back to just not overthinking it, not thinking you have to give away the world in order for someone to give you $1, I think is where a lot of people are making mistakes. And then, of course, thinking we have to tell a story in every single email. If you're not watching the video of this, you didn't see Jen like nod her head and roll her eyes at the same time. Like, yeah, I keep hearing that. That's ridiculous. Just getting in and getting out. And also allowing yourself some grace. if you miss a week or a month, thinking you have to start all over again, right? Or thinking that you need
To
a hundred.
apologize for not sending an email last week. Nobody cares.
Amen. Like we all know the Val packs, right? That we get in the mail, like all those coupons. It's like an envelope full of coupons. If I didn't get those one week, I wouldn't notice. And I don't expect them to the next week or the next month be like, "Oh, sorry you didn't get your coupons. What happened was the printer broke and we forgot to pay our light
My
bill."
kid
And this is
got sick
we
and
would be like, just give me the Burger King discount already. I don't care. I just want my 2 for 1 at the ice cream shop. And so yeah, definitely just getting on with it, just treating it like not like an email list, but treating it human to human. Your email list are real people. And so trying to write to that real person. What does that one person who hasn't booked me yet need to hear today? And then just getting on with it.
that sounds amazing. I know a lot of people are using ChatGPT for everything and think it's the next best thing since sliced bread. I love it. I love AI. My outlook on it is I look at it for a time saver to get me 70% there on things. But the work that I put in to make sure I'm using verbiage that I would use, like I never say hello or hi, I always say hey. Like that's just me. Like if I started a sentence with hi, they'd be like, who's writing for you? Like it's just, it would be very glaring. I think it's talk a little bit about how important it is if they're using it. Like I love chat gpt in particular for analogies because I want to share an analogy because I don't have a story maybe or something that happened. An analogy is a great way to connect from one thing to the next. But still, even then I will switch it up and I will change things around. So talk to me a little bit about how you would talk about chat gpt and email.
You can definitely use it exactly like what Jen just said about making sure whatever it outputs, number one, is wholly accurate. And then I forget what you can run it through. It's like
Oh, it's
copyscape.com or something.
yeah,
To make sure it's not
plagiarized.
plagiarism,
Hmm.
right? And so you don't want to just send out something with misinformation or that has just been ripped off, because that's what AI does. It's a time saver because it's able to search uh the entirety of Google, where we only get to the first page, right? And so
and
you want to
and
make
only up to 2021. So like I can never use it for Pinterest because Pinterest changes monthly, if not, every couple months.
all day long,
So
baby,
don't
as much as
forget
they're
that what
pinning.
if you're in a a business at all that has had any changes since 2021, and I would assume a lot do, take everything with a grain of salt because it doesn't have the most up-to-date information either.
When it comes to email writing, you could definitely give it a prompt. Like if you saw something on social media that sparked an idea, but then you've got the blank page syndrome, you can say, write me an email about this that also segues into that, right? But I always recommend what Jen said, taking a look at it. Does this sound like Liz? Does this sound like Shahara, right? Making sure it actually sounds like you, it feels good. Um, and then, of course, really the more you learn about email marketing, the better your prompts are going to be. And going back to that advice, like, does this show that I'm invested in my reader? Does this show that I'm relatable? And I think that'll really help you.
Awesome. How can business providers make sure that we are using email to actually grow our business versus just to send great information?
Absolutely. Well, I think number one, adding that super signature we just talked about. And number two, change your mindset a little bit. I always say email is a money making activity. And so, not being afraid to sell. If you do the super signature, that's great. But you can also vary your content and just directly send sales emails. I say sprinkle them in, right? We're going to do some value add, right? We're always going to send emails where we give tips and tricks and that's just our innate human nature. We want to help each other, right? So we're always going to send that, but making sure you are selling very often and making sure in the welcome sequence, this is the goal. Ding, 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 listen up. in your welcome sequence itself saying, I'm going to offer you free and paid services. Okay. The free service is the newsletter, baby, right? The paid is, your coaching session, your photography, photo shoot, this, that, and the other, right? And so making sure that they know from the beginning, this is a marketing channel is really, really important.
I like everything you're saying. I'm like, yeah, yeah, like preach on, because I feel like people look at email as the redheaded stepchild or the old man, right? Because it's been around but way before social media. But I feel like it's stronger than it was even 5 years ago for marketing purposes. Um,
Yeah, like Brad Pitt or George Clooney. Like,
oh
this
yeah.
ain't never getting old, baby. This is getting better and better.
It's like a fine wine. They are just aging so well. Okay, so full confession, I actually send emails all the time, but I I think the question I get the most in my marketing strategy academy Facebook group is, okay, so I was so busy during busy season that I didn't send emails because I just couldn't handle it. And now it's been like 5 or 6 months. How do we go back in to sending emails? Do you don't I'm assuming you don't want a full apology. I mean, like, I don't know what's going on. How would you recommend our service providers handle that? And I'm assuming you'd want them to do it ASAP.
Yeah, right now. Sit down. Open up your MailChimp right now. No. Yeah, so, as soon as you can, just send out it would be very similar to the welcome sequence that I recommend, where you're introducing yourself, sharing a little bit of personality, your vision for your potential clients, and then setting expectations. So this is something you should be doing in your welcome sequence. But when you re-engage, if you're the one that has gone cold in the last 3 to 12 months, this is what you do. So the first email, send it out and give them something, right? Okay, so normally you give a freebie or some kind of discount. Do that again, or spend a little time making something for them. Say, hey, I know it's been a while. You don't need to apologize. You don't even have to explain yourself if you don't want to. I would just get into it. Some people might feel obliged to say, oh, I had a busy season, or email scares me. Whatever is true, just be your true self. And then say, hey, I wanted to give you this, 5 tips for, or I'm thinking 5 photos you must have at your wedding. 3 things you have to know, about grief before you can process it. Whatever, right? Give them something, and then say, "Oh, by the way, I know I haven't emailed in a while. I'm Liz Wilcox. If you know one thing about me, it's that as much as I love the '90s, I love the idea of you making money even more." So
Oh my
notice
gosh, I am so excited about what you just said right now. Go ahead.
Okay, so let's break that down, right? So remember, I'm Liz Wilcox. Remember, I'm so and so. And then share a little bit of personality. That's going to make that connection. Oh, yeah, I remember her. Everybody knows Liz. Jen said the Fresh Princess. I'm very 90s themed. I have NSYNC in the background. I'm wearing a Seinfeld hat right now. I'm very incredibly 90s. Okay. And so that's something that's going to jog their memory. So what's going to jog their memory for you? I'm the lady that takes great, really creative wedding photos, right? But as much as I love doing that, I love, you know, creating them just for you, like unique to the person. So share a little bit of personality or something that's going to jog their memory. And then share your vision. What do you want for your potential clients, right? Do you want, the wedding photos of their dreams, to finally overcome grief? If I was a copywriter still, to have the sales page that converts like no other, right? What is that vision, right? And share that, and then get the heck out of there. Okay, hope you enjoy that freebie or whatever. Peace out. I'll be emailing you again. Then you email them again a couple days later, a week later, whatever feels good for you. And this is where you set expectations. It's the same as, when Jen records a podcast, she says, oh, I'm so glad you're listening. This is the name of the podcast. This is the guest. This is what we're going to talk about. It's the same as when you go to university and you get the entire syllabus for the year, right? You have to set expectations. So, hey, from here on out, here's what's going to happen over the next 6 months. I'm going to email you once a week, once a month, whatever, just sporadically. As long as they know it's sporadic, they will expect sporadic and they will see, oh, yeah, Jen said she was going to be sporadic. That was 3 months ago. Wow, she really meant it, right? And suddenly Jen's a woman of her word. And then you're going to say, I'm going to offer you free and paid services. And then you can sub bullet, like my photo sessions, like my, $9 whatever, right? If you've got a mini product, right? And so putting that, don't expect anyone to purchase from that, but we expect them to get acquainted right away. And then you can say, you can follow me on social. I do Instagram stories over here. I share, my best tips in my Facebook group here, whatever it looks like to be in your universe. Just reintroduce that, set the expectation. And then from there, just start your newsletter. So you really only need 2 emails.
Love it. What are good open rates? And the reason why I bring up open rates is because a lot of people have to sort of get on board with email and actually sort of consistently, right, deliver these emails. But in order to make sure that the work we're putting in is converting on the back end, one thing that you start to look for in analytics is, open rates, like how many people even open your emails. So what are good ones? What should we strive for? All the things.
Yeah, I agree with Jen. Open rates are important. And getting people to open your emails. I always say, like, it doesn't matter if you have an invitation to the Last Supper inside your email. If no one's opening it, nobody's coming, right? It's gonna be the last solo supper, okay? So, so really, it really depends on your industry, and it depends on where you're at right now and where you're trying to go. It depends on the strength of your list. Like, are people clicking? It depends on if you're growing your list actively or if it's been the same 100 people for the last 12 months, right? And so I want you to look at your open rate right now, or, when you get home, whatever, next time you get to your computer and open up your email service provider, and just ask yourself, how can I get this 1% better in my next email? Oh, maybe I could, really tweak the subject line. I could spend a little more time learning about subject lines. Or maybe it's in my next newsletter, I can, get a lot of people to click so that the next newsletter they're excited about. And so I hesitate to say an average. I mean, you can Google averages. You're going to find a bunch of crazy stuff about open rates. I want to make this simple for you. So just how can I get it 1% or 5%? And really, how you're going to increase your open rate is to actively build your list, always be finding new people, and create a solid welcome sequence. Again, one that really sets those expectations so that people, oh, these don't make sense to me. I'm out of here. So the people that aren't going to open, unsubscribe quickly. And you are showing that full, what it's like to be in your universe right off the bat. And because those first few emails, especially that number 1 email you send, there's never going to be an email that's opened more than that first email. And so we've got to get it right off the gate. I always say, if email is a wall, and you're building brick by brick, those first few emails are those first solid bricks. They've got to be set really well for the whole thing, to be a wall, right? So that first email, is the same as the first email I just told you about in your re-engagement. And then making sure you set expectations, making sure, you've got that personality, vision, and values set in that welcome sequence. And so looking into that welcome sequence and saying, okay, well, my open rate here says it's 60%. If your newsletter open rate is usually around 40%, that's pretty average. So it's like, how can I get that first email to be 65%? So it's going to move the whole, it's like a chain. It's going to move the whole thing. So your newsletter is going to go up to, 42, 43, 45%. So really focusing on a solid welcome sequence and then looking at your newsletters, your subject lines, your content to make sure that goes up as well.
Perfection. We're going to take a little pivot and stick around, everyone, because Liz is sharing a free gift that is incredible. What three things have helped you to grow your business? And this could be tools, advice, really anything, the top three things.
Yeah, honestly, and this is going to sound so woo woo, but really loving myself, listening less, and doing more.
I
I
swear
really
that's
believe
so
that,
good.
and I mean, because I can sit here all day and say, do this and do that. And oh, it's easy, just hit send. Um, but it's not easy. And especially if you do have a lot, and I hate to be like, oh, it's your mindset, because it's not, sometimes it's the strategy. But really, the more that you just lean into this, I know what I'm doing and I'm here to serve, and I need to go out and find those people, and I'm excited to do that. That comes from loving yourself. That comes from, listening less to what others, like your peers, have to say about what you need to do, and just taking more action. Confidence doesn't come before action. You've got to take action, and you're going to learn, you're going to fail, and you're going to become confident because you know what you're doing.
Excellent. So right about now, people are like, oh my gosh, she has so much good information. And they might be wondering, how do we work with her? How can people work with you? So why don't you let us know?
Yeah, my main offer is actually a $9 offer, and this is goes into leaning into you listening less to my peers and just doing more. Um, what I love the most is helping people write newsletters. We've just spent, 45 minutes explaining the strategy. We even talked about Chat GPT. And the thing with AI is, yeah, you can input something, but do you have the strategy? Like AI can't make email strategy for you. So my $9 offer is a membership called Email Marketing Membership, hashtag SEO. I think the Pinterest queen here would be proud of me. And it's where I write a weekly newsletter template for you to take and make your own. It's like, Chat GPT on steroids. I've
Plug and
done
play.
Yes, it truly is Mad Lib style. And I give you a video walkthrough that explains why you would want to send this email out, how you could vary it. You get the template, but you also get two swipes. So and swipes are A+ examples. So you don't just get this template and, yeah, just copy and paste it. I give you two examples that are written from different brand perspectives, so you can actually see how it could work for your business. So one might be, I keep mentioning, one might be written from a wedding photographer, the other might be a grief coach. And you'll see just how different those emails would be, right? That's a completely different tone. And like your person is in a completely different, set of life. And so you can see how the different tones, how the different businesses, so you can actually get a very cohesive way of how can I use this template. And yeah, so it's $9. You get it every single Monday morning. You also get a live Q&A once a month with me. Those usually go about an hour to 2 hours, depending. I really love to show up and serve. You get a Facebook community, and you also get quarterly guest experts. That's called the Email Marketing Membership. It's my favorite
Uh,
thing.
Amazing, amazing and affordable. Like you don't usually, those two don't always go hand in hand. Tell
Amen.
everyone, tell everyone about the mega email swipe file, which she is sharing with everyone free with our audience. So
Yeah. So if you're a skeptic or you don't like to spend money like me, I totally get it. We talked a lot about the newsletters today. We talked about subject lines, and we talked about that welcome sequence. So the mega swipe file is all three of those things in one. If you go directly to lizwilcox.com, there's a hot pink button in the top right hand corner. You can't miss it. You're going to get that welcome sequence already written for you. Again, templatized, take and make your own. You're going to get 3 newsletter examples, one to show you how to get people to click, another to show you how to get people to reply to your emails, and a third to show you how to get people to buy directly from your newsletter. If that's not enough, I know writing from scratch totally sucks. You might not know how to use ChatGPT, so I'm also going to give you 52 subject lines completely for free. LizWilcox.com, hot pink button.
wow. So Jen Vasquez is going to be going and clicking Liz Wilcox button to get all this. This is amazing. I want to make sure that all our listeners and watchers on YouTube, if you found some ideas and tips that you can implement in your business, we'd really love for you to leave a review on the podcast or like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Liz. You didn't just provide educational content, you really gave action items that we can go and do and actually make some big changes in our business today. So everyone should go out there and do something good for your business, like downloading Liz's gift and then taking action. I will have all the places you can find Liz, including that hot pink button. So thank you so much, Liz. I really appreciate you coming on the show.